Welcome to the Asset Hero Property Management Podcast. Our guest today here is Jake Moran with Agtown Property Maintenance. Welcome, Jake.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Quick bio on Jake. Jake Moran, president and co-owner of Agtown Property Maintenance, has over 15 years of experience in the construction and engineering industry. Jake has been involved in all aspects of building process. Jake started out as a cleanup worker on projects as a boy, and his grandfather later helped him build a house from the ground up. Jake uses these years of hands-on experience to now manage the many details of his residential and commercial projects, which have ranged in size from 1,000 square feet to 2,000-bed apartment complex. Jake has since joined efforts with Doug Smith and Polar Bear Pools and Patios, building backyard dreams. Jake is a Fighting Texas Aggie class of 07 and holds a bachelor's in environmental design, architecture. One of Jake's passions is flying. He holds a private pilot certificate, single engine land, and a commercial drone pilot certificate. That's impressive. You can fly planes?
Yes.
Wow. Do you have a plane?
I do not. It's in the process.
We should get a plane.
We should.
Agtown plane.
Flying is fun.
So how's your week been so far?
It's been busy.
Yeah.
Good. Had a great weekend out on the Frio River last weekend.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah.
What'd you do out there?
Got in the water. It was nice and warm and just relaxed.
That's important. I don't do enough of that. Well, I'd like to start the show off with, because Asset Hero is a hero for investment properties, I like to start off with just asking what your favorite superpower is and why.
Flying, and that goes with my pilot certificates. There's a sense of freedom when you get in the air. So that's my favorite superpower.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, to be able to fly anywhere at any time. Well, with a plane, you could do that.
That's true.
Well, let's dive down into it. So Agtown Property Maintenance. Let's start off by what kind of services Agtown offers.
So we offer a lot of services. In fact, it's easier to tell you what we don't offer.
Okay.
Pest control and foundation leveling.
Wow.
Everything else.
So that's a huge list.
It is.
Everything from, so what's your, I guess the focus is like homestead properties, people who live in properties, like actually live in them, or investment properties, or both?
Investment properties are our main focus. We do work for some homeowners, but those are few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
The bulk of our work is investment owners and property management companies.
On a regular basis, what do you see the most of when it comes to investment properties or regular properties in general?
We see a lot of sheetrock damage. We see a lot of flooring damage. We see a lot of damaged doors and door frames.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the bulk of what we see.
So this is something that, because you guys offer property inspections as well, so that's probably something you catch during those inspections.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the inspections allow us to have a proactive approach on taking a relatively small problem, and getting it fixed before it turns into a large issue.
Can you give an example of something that would do that?
Right. So during our inspections, we check plumbing's a big one, and we've caught dripping supply lines or, under a sink, which is something a tenant doesn't always open up and look.
Correct.
And so you'll get growth under there. It'll rot the cabinet itself. And when that happens, that's a big issue versus it's just damp right now. We can stop the leak, dry it up, put some fresh paint on it, and it's a small issue.
That actually reminds me of my first investment property that I purchased. We had a tenant, there was a short amount of time, 6 months, that we needed to lease it for. So we found someone and we put him in there. And that exact thing happened. So 6 months later, they had no idea that there was a leak under the sink. So by the time they moved out, the entire kitchen, the entire cabinet, that side of the wall was just rotted. It's just mush. So we had to end up replacing all of those cabinets. Whereas if we would have caught that, it would have just been a one-time fix and would have been done.
Right.
So yeah, that's importance of inspections, which I guess we can tap on in a little bit more later. One thing you guys do is make readies. Make ready experts is what you guys are. So, we had another show where we talked about make readies and the coordination of it from our side, but I'd really like to dive into what you experience from from your side when you guys do make readies?
Make readies on our side, it can range anything from rekeying the property to essentially a remodel, and that's dependent on how much damage the property took on from the previous tenants.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen really bad and we've seen really good.
What's a memorable one that's just always stands in your mind?
Last year's turn, there was 2 of them.
I think I know which ones you're talking about.
Yeah, you do. They were by far the worst. Looked like a party happened
Mm-hmm.
and everyone just vanished overnight. Left everything inside, left everything as if the party was happening, and it was destroyed.
Mm-hmm. That was a hefty bill.
Yes, it was.
It's unfortunate that tenants do that sometimes, but I think, even with periodic inspections, something like that, just up and leaving everything behind is just, in addition, with make readies, you only have a short amount of time to accomplish this. So
Correct.
being prepared for that, you can't really prepare for everyone to be that way, but like, how do you make that happen? When you have that.
Right. So we staff a core group of guys that work for us year round.
Mm-hmm.
During turn, actually before turn, we start to gather our subcontractors and have them lined up ready to work. And
Mm-hmm.
that's our paint and cleaners mainly as our subcontractors. We also use flooring subcontractors as
Mm-hmm.
well. But we have those people ready to go, dedicated to our team for the make ready season. So we get that
Mm-hmm.
dedication from those subs for that short amount of time.
I know how many turns you did for us last year, but I know you did much more than that. So do you have a ballpark figure of how many turns you did last year?
Last year we did about 500.
500. So all that in probably a 2 to 3 week time frame, maybe?
It was more 6 weeks.
6 weeks
Yeah,
total?
some started early and some went late.
That's still an incredible amount of...
It's a lot.
Are y'all anticipating more this year?
It's going to be about the same.
I know that we prepare, 8 to 10 months in advance. I'm sure you do the same.
Right.
But, getting those subcontractors ready and...
We actually start preparing when turn ends.
That's just
for
never
the
ending,
next one.
never ending
Because
process.
the issues, the hardships we had are fresh on our mind. So it's good to talk about them
Mm-hmm.
immediately and then move forward from that.
How to do better next time.
Right.
I feel like inspections are tied into make readies to help prevent those massive ones as much as possible. So, I know we kind of touched on inspections already, but when doing an inspection, what's the things that you look for? I mean, the damages, of course, but is there a set number of things that you look for every single time, or?
Yeah, we're looking mainly at things that will create large issues if they're not caught.
Mm-hmm.
Water leaks is a big one.
Sure.
HVAC in the attic or a closet, they create condensation, so that's a water issue as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're also looking for gross negligent things.
Mm-hmm.
Holes in walls, doors kicked in, broken windows, that kind of thing that involves the security of the home.
Sure.
And we're looking at roofs, we're looking at fences, we're looking at irrigation systems.
So each time you do it, that's why we have a different focus on each inspection, right? So it's really hard to look at everything
Correct.
in one inspection. So switching it up every time you go out there is important. That way you can, not miss anything. So like you mentioned safety. So that brings to mind Texas property code, right? So those are, what are some items in regards to that you guys notice a lot of?
We look at dates on smoke alarms,
Mm-hmm.
make sure that they're within 10 years. We look for peepholes and doors, the privacy deadbolt, one-sided deadbolts
Mm-hmm.
on the exterior doors. Those are the primary things that we look at during the inspections.
So those are all in terms of safety for the tenant. So that's something that we're, constantly looking out for to make sure that that's done, because I would say in most houses, there's something that violates the Texas property code. So we're always out there doing that. What got you started in property maintenance?
So Doug Smith's my business partner, and he had done property maintenance prior. That led to larger and larger scale projects, and he dropped the property maintenance side of it. I saw the need before I was even friends with Doug. And when we became friends and we're talking about how he started and where he's gone with his business, we decided to team up and start the property maintenance business back up.
Just kind of excelled really quickly, I'm sure.
It did. It did. Yeah, there's a huge need in our town and probably every college town that has a lot of rental properties or investment properties.
When you first started, who'd you reach out to? I mean, because we met pretty early on,
right,
in the process, but just from context from what Doug established.
Correct. There were his previous contacts, and so he reached back out, informed them that we started back up, and
because from a property management standpoint, finding a reliable, maintenance company is extremely hard.
Right.
At first you always seems like, okay, this would be great, and then over time it just snowballs into something that's just not worth working with them anymore. So So it's almost just like people are desperate for it, desperate for that need of maintenance, reliable maintenance. So
correct.
And because of y'all's massive scope of what you offer, it's unique. Not everyone can provide everything that you can provide. So that's why we use you.
Right.
So you mentioned there's a couple services that you don't offer. Are there things like that, or anything that you want to, provide that you don't provide now that you want to provide?
I've thought a lot about this, and I come back to the same answer every time, that less is more, and you can't be great at everything.
True. That is very true. So what you're providing now is, in a nutshell, is really, you wouldn't want to go beyond that.
I'd rather make that even better than what it is now, and focus on that instead of adding another service at this point.
Like pest control.
Correct.
You have what you're good at, and we don't want to expand that beyond to what you can control. Other than Make Ready, is there something memorable that, like another just typical, something that just stands out in your mind? I know Make Readies are crazy and everyone's tired and everyone's working, hard, but like, what about just day-to-day stuff? Is there something that's just something happened and that stands out in your mind that you either learned a lesson from, or it's like, how do people live like this, or something?
There is one. I always will remember it. It was a maintenance call. A tenant had a dog and destroyed the siding on the back of the house. So we went and looked at it, and we estimated it to her, single parent, civil service employee. She gave us the go-ahead. We re-sided the back of the house, painted it. Everything looked great. Sent the bill. She called me in tears. She said, basically, I have to choose to feed myself and my daughter or pay this bill. And that hit me pretty hard to know that people struggle on that level in daily life.
So what'd you do?
I carried the tab for her.
Did you?
Yep, I did. I talked to Doug about it. He said, I think that's the right thing to do. I'm on board with it. So let's do that for her.
Doing things like that, like a give back type of thing is important with just any type of business, I think, so there's always those situations. We run into them all the time, and that's really awesome that you guys did that. So
yeah, that's it's rewarding for us to be able to do that, but it's potentially life-changing for that person that you help. So
yeah,
that's even more rewarding when it's that
pay it forward.
Right.
Something as simple as I do it, like in the drive-through line, just, I'll pay for the person behind me.
Right.
But something like that is great. That's awesome. So from that situation, is that something that you guys now do consistently, or?
Sure. As those needs come across, I'm pretty particular about it because there's people that try to get things for free all the time.
Sure.
But this lady was obviously very distraught over being able to feed herself and her kid or pay this bill.
Sure.
She even offered to make a payment plan. So she didn't ask for, can you just do it for free? That wasn't right. So I kind of can tell based on how people speak about it and talk about it, if they're trying to get it for free or if there really is a problem.
Sometimes that's hard.
It is.
To determine, it's like, man, I can't, we get that all the time as well. So being able to figure that out, you can always tell.
And at the end of the day, if they were a good liar and got it over on me, I still feel good about giving something back.
Well, that's great. Well, especially now with what's going on in the world with COVID and, people are more so in that type of situation now than they ever have been. So, and being able to figure out the ones who are trying to take advantage of the situation or the ones who actually need the help is, the hardest part. But again, you feel good about yourself regardless. So what drives you? What's your purpose? What's your why? Why do you do what you do? Is this stuff like that, or is it?
It is. I like to help people. I like to share the knowledge that I have to other people, my employees and people that we work for. The simple things that we get called out for, I like to tell the tenants, hey, it's really this easy to do this. Let me show you how to do it. So next time it happens, you can do it. You don't have to call us back.
Sure.
So I do enjoy that.
And then for the investment standpoint, doing those things that would prevent, preventative maintenance, man, you're saving them potentially thousands, just by taking, keeping an eye on their property. And as an investor myself, that's invaluable. I mean, that's just, you can't put a price tag on that. That's awesome. So being able to provide that is great. Do you have long-term goals for you or for Agtown?
Yeah. So our long-term goals for Agtown currently would be continue growing locally and then look at expanding to other college towns.
Okay. Do you have a particular city in mind if and when that happens?
There's a couple. The one off the top of my mind is San Angelo, Angelo State. The town itself is about the same size as Bryan College Station.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be like a Austin or, Houston.
Big old city.
Right. And I'd like to keep it in towns kind of our size just for logistics of getting employees around to the different properties.
Why San Angelo? Just because of the similarity?
It is similar. We also have family out there that knows people.
So you know the town.
Yeah.
Okay. So great. Well, that'd be awesome to be able to do that.
Right.
Do you have like a timeline on that, or just kind of when you're ready? Or
I'm thinking between now and 5 years.
I want to end things on just one more question. If a person wants to get into property maintenance and do what you do and help people with investors and, tenants and all that, what are the first 3 things that you think that they would need to do to get either to where you are or to have the satisfaction of what you do?
So they need to communicate effectively, and that's probably the most important thing in our business is communication. There's a lot of, if you don't communicate, things will break down for nothing other than you didn't tell someone what you were doing when you were doing it, or you didn't follow through on what you said when you said.
Right.
So that communication is very important. Second would be a strong work ethic. We don't micromanage our employees. They are their own one-man crew, and they're expected to perform.
Right.
So they have to have that work ethic. Otherwise, they'll not perform.
Right.
And then lastly, be a team player. We are a team. We have people that are out sick, and people have to step in and pull the weight so that the team performs. So those are the 3 big items that I would say.
Running a business, right? How big is your team, by the way?
We have 8 employees now.
And you have several vehicles. I mean, you guys are just all over the place. That's
we
awesome.
do. We just picked up a new employee and a new vehicle this week. So
that's great.
We're growing.
Yep. Awesome. Well, if someone is in need of maintenance or they want to get a hold of Agtown or yourself, what's the best way to do that?
Our phone number is 979-571-5539. And our email is agtownpropertymaintenance@gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, Jake, appreciate you coming on the show. Look forward to continued many years of working together, and we'll make it happen.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
No problem.